Hi everybody, welcome to ChinFat. In this episode here, I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up a dual monitor system. In some instances, people do, you can do up to like usually a 3-monitor system depending on your video card and how many outputs you have on your video card. I'm going to be showing how to do it on a Mac. I'm going to be showing how to do it on a PC. But right now I've got 2 monitors and I'm going to show how to connect a 3rd monitor. I don't recommend doing 3 total monitors that are going off of one graphics card. Usually you have to get like an external hard dedicated monitor output that does all the processing separate from the computer, like a Blackmagic 4K Ultra Studio or something like that, which I will actually show as well. The way I've got these monitors set up, first of all, you have to have, obviously, 2 monitors. I've got 2 monitors here to have a dual monitor display. That's pretty obvious. You have to have the hardware. You have to have a physical, secondary physical monitor. And honestly, this could be here if a lot of laptops these days, most laptops, in fact, support dual monitors as well. You can have your laptop sitting down on a desk, and then next to it you can have a monitor that plugs into like the USB-C port or an HDMI port, and that will give you access to dual monitor display. It's the same pretty much setup that I have here, but this one would be the laptop and then this one would be my secondary monitor. So I'm working on a MacBook Pro here, and like I said, I'll show you the PC here coming up. But right now they've got all these USB-C and Thunderbolt ports, which is done with a USB connector, but it's a Thunderbolt signal rather than just a regular USB-C signal. The Mac Pro has the video card that's inside, and it's kind of cool. With the Mac, you do not have to plug directly into the video card, but when you plug in via USB-C, it will access the video card automatically. It detects that that you are connecting a display, and it will send the processing to the video card. In most instances on the back of the PC, you have to plug directly into the back of the video card, which I will show. Now keep in mind that depending on what sort of screen you have, these screens here that I have are specifically USB-C screens. Have USB-C Thunderbolt connections on the back of them. So I have to have a Thunderbolt compatible cable that's USB-C connector. Just because it's a USB-C connector doesn't mean it's a Thunderbolt. You have to specifically get Thunderbolt for some displays. And these ones, these LG ones, these have USB-C Thunderbolt connectors specifically, and that's what you have to do to get them to work. A lot of monitors will have HDMI cables. A lot of monitors will have DisplayPort. There's a handful of different types of connectors. If you're on an older one, you might have a DVI, and if you're on a super old one, you might have a VGA. Now, those ones are pretty much obsolete, so I would not go get a monitor that's so old that you have to have a VGA to plug it in. But then the other thing you have to be concerned about is what sort of connector is on your video card. On the video card in some PCs, you will have any combination of maybe a couple HDMIs and then a display port, or you might have a couple display ports, or you might even have a couple HDMI ports and a DVI port. So there's a whole bunch of different combinations. You just have to look at the back of your computer and see what type of connector you have, and then you have to see what type of connector your monitor has. And pretty much any connector that you have on the back of your PC, you can connect in 2 HDMIs, you can connect in a DVI and an HDMI. It just depends on how many ports you have on your video card and how many monitors you're trying to hook up. Because then the next thing that you'll have to do is see what kind of cables you have on your video card and see what kind of connectors are on your monitor. And then you will have to purchase those cables. They have a lot of them on Amazon you can get, where you can purchase either an adapter or you can buy a specific cable that will be HDMI to DVI, HDMI to DisplayPort, or just a straight up DisplayPort to DisplayPort. You just have to see, once again, see what type of connections on your computer and then on your video card, and then see what sort of connectors are on your monitor and buy the appropriate cable. With that being said, let's show how to set up your extended desktop space if you're on a Mac. So you're going to go up to the System Preferences here, up to the Apple, and hit System Preferences, and you're going to go under Displays. Under Displays, you will go under Arrangement. And in Arrangement, sometimes by default, this will be checkmarked where you are mirroring your displays. If you do that, now these desktops are mirrored. You see the mouse shaking on both sides there, the exact same thing. And this is good for giving like presentations on a projector or to a large television or something like that, or if you're in a classroom or giving a talk or giving a presentation or something like that. So I'm going to uncheck that, but for editing, I don't want that. I want to not mirror the displays, which means now, if you look at my mouse shaking on this side, I can move my mouse over to the far right here, and now you have your mouse shaking on that side. So this is an extended desktop space. It's almost like you have one big monitor that stretches out over twice the horizontal length there. So you can also arrange these. My monitors are physically placed where this is my monitor 1 and this is my monitor 2 right here. Physically, my monitor 2 is set to the right. Now this is my monitor 1. If you click on these little things here, it has a red flash that shows you which monitor you're clicking on. So now I click on that one, that's showing that's my secondary monitor. You know on a Mac that your primary monitor, because it has this bar at the top, that's your primary monitor right there. So if I grab this and I drag it over to the other side like this, that will be kind of that won't be very conducive to a good workflow, because now if I move my mouse that's here, if I move it all the way over to the right, it's just going to bump the side of the screen here, and it's not going to be able to go over, because now I have to move it all the way to the left of the hand side of the screen, and now my mouse is over on the other desktop. So that's not very intuitive, so I'm going to grab this and drag it back, because now this arrangement digitally here on this screen matches my physical geographic layout of my monitors. In some instances, people will stack their monitors, physically stack their monitors on top if they're in a confined space and have extended desktop one on top of the other. And they have to mount it to a wall or have some sort of like hardware to get one on top of the other. So, but right now, this is the very practical way that I'm got my monitors laid out, so I'm set there. So now I'm going to go open up Premiere and let's show you how to extend your desktop space onto the screen. Really depends on what sort of editing you're doing at the time. If you are organizing media, you may want to share this space with your media here. And sometimes if I'm doing editing and compositing and even like sound mixing, I like a lot of space for my soundtracks here. So let's try this first of all. I'm gonna go media here. I'm gonna go over to my project screen, and I'm going to grab that and detach it and drag it. You grab right on that tab, detach it, and drag it over to your secondary screen. Now it's on my secondary screen here, and on a Mac this is pretty easy. On a PC it's a little bit different. We'll show that. But you're going to double click on this white bar, and it will fill that screen up there. It fills up the screen, and now I have a dual monitor layout where I have my media on this side and have my timeline on this side. And then I can go over here, and you can increase your thumbnail size, and you can. So now I can easily access the media on this side. I've got a nice big screen with all the media on it, and it makes it much easier to search for footage, to peruse footage, to organize footage. So if I like that layout there, we're going to go up to our little arrangement workspaces right here. Click on this. And by the way, if you're working on an earlier version of Premiere, you can access that under Window here. In Window, you'll have all your work. It's the same workspace menu that you have right here under this little graphic icon. So you're going to click on this. And I'm going to go down to, it's temporarily saved this layout to my editing layout here, to my editing workspace. So I'm going to go down and to save as new workspace. And then I'm going to call this workspace, so let's call this dual screen media, because that's laid out for my media. So I've got the screen dedicated for my media there. I'm going to hit OK. Let's say I want to do another layout where I have my timeline over here, so I can do compositing, or I can do sound mixing and have access to a ton of tracks over here on my timeline. So I'm going to reset this back to my editing layout here. And see, my editing layout remembered my last layout that I rearranged it on, so I have to reset this back to my original layout. I'm going to go under my tab here and say reset. See, I'm on editing now. I don't want to reset my dual screen media one. I just want to reset the editing one back to its default. So I'm going to do reset to saved layout. Now this is back to the default layout here. I'm going to grab my timeline, detach it, and drag it over to this window. Double click on the white bar like I did before, and look at that. I've got a ton of space over here to create, especially if I'm doing a sound mix. I can add new tracks, and in fact, if I'm doing a sound mix, I like to even do this. I'll take my video up to the top like this, because I'm not doing compositing, and that leaves a ton of space down here that you can add multiple tracks. In fact, let's right click on here, and I'm going to add tracks, and I'm going to add a ton of tracks here. Add tracks. I'm going to go down to my audio tracks, and I'm going to add 10 tracks here. Hit OK. And now I've got a whole bunch more tracks here. Let's do Shift plus and increase the track size. There we go. Now I have all these tracks ready to go, and I can do some significant audio mixing here if needs be. And now if you need to access your media quickly over here, and you could move your mouse over and hit the tilde over this, the tilde key above the tab key, and it will make that go full screen. So now I have my media kind of full screen here if I need to find media. Let's do it the opposite way. Rather than do it under this tab, so if you have an earlier version of Premiere, you can do it under here as well. I'm going to go under Window, Workspaces, and I'm going to save this as a new workspace, and I'm going to call this Dual Screen Sound. Hit OK. Under Window and Workspaces, you're going to see there is my dual screen sound. It's also under this tab. This is basically mirrored right here, under here as well. There's my dual screen sound there. Now I'm going to go dual screen media, and it brings back up my media layout. And I go under dual screen sound, and there's my sound layout. So now if I go back to my editing, remember the editing is going to remember the last layout that I rearranged on. So this is now has been saved as my sound one, but this is also the way editing layout is. So you can once again go under Workspaces and reset my regular single screen back to my editing layout. So right now we're on a PC. We've got our two monitors hooked up. We're going to show you how to do the shared desktop space on a PC here. What you can do is you can hit the Windows Start key. It'll bring up, and then you can just start searching here. So I'm just going to type in display. And it brings up the settings here. Down here you got duplicate or extend to a connected display. So you can just hit enter there, and it will bring up this window right here. So once I have that, you got to scroll down to the very bottom and make sure that this here, multiple displays, says extend these displays. If you duplicate, that will mirror just like it did on the Macintosh. So we want to extend. If I do show only on one, it'll basically turn this monitor. It won't turn it off, but it will not send any signal to that at all. And if I do show on two, it'll send all my desktop stuff to here and not have any signal on number one. I'm just going to do extend these displays. All right, so what we've got here is it detects that I've got both these monitors connected here. Got them both plugged in. We can identify these by clicking on the identify button, and it will show these numbers 1 and 2 down here, so I know which display is which. So I've got my secondary monitor, number 2 display on my right, my number 1 on my left. So we're going to match that physical geographic location by rearranging this. If I rearrange it over here, I'll do the same thing I was doing on the Mac. That's going to be on the wrong side. You can stack it on top like that. You can stack it on the bottom like that. You can stack it on the left like that. But we're going to stack this on the right because my number 2 monitor is to the right, and that way, so my mouse will go over automatically from the left to the right, and I have this extended desktop space now. And then within Premiere, you can detach your whatever screen you want to and save your same workspaces and layouts. I'm going to drag this one over to this screen here. I'm going to move it up into the top left-hand corner here. And this is you can't double-click on this white bar like you can with the Mac. So I'm going to go down. You have to go down to the bottom right-hand corner, get this little double arrow diagonally here in the very corner, and we're going to drag that down. A little inconvenient, but it's fine now because now I'm set and I can save my workspace and I'm good to go. So on the back of my PC here, this is my video card right there. And this video card supports 4 outputs. This video card is all DisplayPort. There is an older video card in here that will go VGA right there. But on the back, you want to look at your video cards and see what type of outputs you have. And sometimes, like I said, you will see maybe an HDMI plus 2 display ports, 2 HDMIs plus 1 DVI. This one specifically supports up to 4 monitors, which I really wouldn't recommend because that's really going to take a toll, especially when you're doing something as graphic intensive as video production. Okay, so next thing I'm going to show here is, say we only have these 2 monitors. I am going to talk about a third monitor, a monitor that's dedicated to just video output that you're going to watch your movie full screen on. But if you only have access to 2, you can actually make your secondary monitor your full screen device. Keep in mind that when you're using 2 screens like this with the shared desktop space, that is actually taking double the toll, essentially double the toll on your video card. So if you have a really good video card, it's not really going to matter. You're not going to notice the difference. So just keep that in mind. But if you have a dedicated output like a Blackmagic device, that takes the toll off the computer and puts it on the Blackmagic device, and then you won't notice that slowdown. But most video cards these days are capable of handling this unless you have a really cheap laptop or a really cheap PC with a really cheap video card. So what I'm going to do, or even a really old computer as well. So on a Mac, you're going to go up to Premiere Pro. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dedicate this screen for my full screen. This is just another option here. If you don't want to do the dual desktop space, you can do this as well. I'm going to go up to Premiere Pro and go to Preferences, and the preferences on a PC are going to be found under Edit, and then you'll find the preferences under Edit. But right now I'm going to Premiere Pro, Preferences, and Playback. But you'll find the exact same thing on the PC. Hit Playback. This is going to detect a couple things. This here, Adobe DV, that is an ancient thing. They need to get rid of it. But this Blackmagic Playback here, that is recognizing the hardware. I've installed the hardware, updated the drivers. You can use this as a dedicated video output. But right now we're showing if you only have two monitors, it will detect these 2 monitors here. And I'm going to go to monitor 2 and uncheck the Blackmagic. And you guys won't see this unless you have the hardware connected. So now I'm going to hit OK. And it sends my video feed out to this screen, and I have a dedicated video feed over here, and now I can play back my footage, and it shows on a big screen what my edit looks like and what my movie looks like. Another thing that I like to do, so that's pretty cool there, but let's turn that off, uncheck that, and hit OK. And let's say we're doing some sound mixing here. Okay, so let's say we're either doing some sound mixing or we are doing some color grading. So I'm going to go to my workspaces, I'm going to go to dual screen sound and arrange for my dual screen sound here, so going across 2 screens, but I'm going to customize this. So first of all, I want to save this as a new layout because I'm going to save this as well. So I'm going to do save to new workspace here, and I'm going to call this dual screen color and sound. I'm going to go up to window, and I'm going to add a Lumetri color window that's not up on my screen right now. There it is right here. I'm going to go to window and let's do a sound one as well if I want my sound panel, essential sound panel. And now I'm going to drag it over to the right hand screen. And I'm going to drag it all the way over to the right here and put it in this little right hand wing right there and drop it, and it will position it to the right of my timeline. Oh, and I brought the color with it right there. I grabbed the whole panel. Sometimes you have to grab both of them one at a time and drag them over. And this one, I brought both of them over side by side. So if it does detach just one at a time, go back over and grab the Lumetri and you drag that over as well. So I've got both of my Lumetri and my essential sound up. So now I can do some sound mixing and some color grading. And now I'm going to grab this little edge here and move that over so I have more timeline space because I don't need this much space for my Lumetri color panel. And now I still have like all this space for my sound mixing, and I have the color panel over here. And now watch what we can do. Now that we've done that, all you have to do is hit, and this is the same on a Mac and a PC. This is one of the only times you hit the control key for this type of shortcut. But you're going to hit Control tilde. Control tilde will make the screen that has the program monitor on it go full screen. That's a quick, nice way of making your footage go full screen, even if you're on a single monitor, and then you can play back your footage and it covers your full screen. You just hit Control tilde again to get out of it. But sometimes when I'm just looking at footage on my timeline, I hit Control tilde even on a single monitor space. And now I can move over here to this. But since I'm on a dual screen here, I can move over and move my playhead around and play my footage back and even do color grading if I want to. Do some quick color grading. And it has it full screen on this monitor. Let's get out of that. But essentially, that is how you set up a dual screen desktop space and some of the reasons why you would want to do that. For this setup that I've got here, I'm going to now show you guys, I've got a third monitor here, and I want to dedicate this monitor for like a dedicated video device. I've got my 2 screens with my shared desktop space here, and then I've got this monitor here. This monitor is connected to this Blackmagic device here. I've got this plugged in. What this is a Thunderbolt device that is plugged into the computer. This is going to do the processing to send the video out to this monitor here. And that way that's taking the toll, and my computer is not taking the toll on the video card for 3 different monitors, which would be a lot to process. You can check out the prices on Blackmagic's website. They have other devices as well that aren't Blackmagic, but this one works pretty well. And then the Thunderbolt goes into the back of this one, and then it also has an HDMI out, and the HDMI out is connected to this HDMI monitor here. And that Blackmagic supports up to 4K output. So that being said, once you would have to, whatever device you're using for your video, your dedicated video out, you will have to go up to Premiere Pro. And once again, on a PC, it's under Edit here. The preferences will be found under Edit on a PC. I'm going to go to my preferences, go to Playback. And once you have that installed, you usually either have to do a machine restart, or in the very least, you have to do a Premiere restart. You shut Premiere completely down, do a Command Q or a Control Q on a PC, and shut it completely down, restart Premiere, and this should be there once you've installed the Blackmagic drivers, or whatever device you have, you got to install those drivers. So I'm going to click Blackmagic Playback, hit Setup, and make sure that it's detecting the Ultra Studio 4K Mini, which it is. And then if it's unsupported frame sizes, I just usually say scale down. It depends on if you're using larger footage, larger than 4K, or if you're using 1920 by 1080 and outputting to 4K. So I'm going to hit OK here, and then that's set up, so I'm going to hit OK again. And there we go. I have my full screen video playing back over here, so if I press play, I have my full screen video playing back on that dedicated monitor right there now. And yeah, so it's very, very nice. So you have my little studio set up here with my dedicated monitor for playback that's using the Blackmagic hardware, so it's not taking a toll on my system. And then I've got my dual monitor layout all set up over here, all good to go. And that is my editing studio set up there. Well, cool. Hopefully this helps you. Monitors can be kind of cheap too. If you're looking on like Facebook Marketplace or some of the like a local like online sales thing. Like in Utah, we have what's called KSL.com. You can go into classifieds, and people are selling monitors there on Facebook Marketplace. You can check eBay, or you can just buy it. If you have the money, you can spend a bit of money and get a really nice monitor. But But the extended desktop space allows you to be more creative, allows you to work faster and more conveniently, and not have to strain your eyes on such a small desktop space, especially if you're working like on a 13-inch laptop screen. So then you can hook your laptop up and have a dual screen on that one. So anyway, well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please post them, and we'll see you on the next episode.